somebody said, sprouting up all over the place since Barack Obama was elected president. We'll be speaking with Michael Lackomar, who's with the Michigan militia, about why they feel the need to gather together in armed groups to protect themselves against something. We'll get to the bottom of that with Michael. But first, we want to turn back to the subject of Sarah Palin. We talked about it in the first hour a little bit. As you know, she's out on a media tour.
Call in to the Ron Reagan Show, 1-877-753-1090, live on Seattle's Progressive Talk, AM 1090.
This is the Ron Reagan Show.
Call Ron at 866-303-2270.
The militia movement is alive and well in the United States of America and growing since the election of President Obama. Joining us now to talk about that is Michael Lackomar, who is with the Michigan militia. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Are you? Do you have a rank with the militia, or is it more an egalitarian situation than that?
Well, I am considered a team leader. I also hold the position of county representative.
Ah, okay. All right. So no generals, perhaps, in the militia movement, but team leaders. What concerns you guys so much that you feel compelled to band together in armed militias?
Well, there's a whole bunch of threats that face society today, and amongst them crime, terrorism, tyranny, disaster, all sorts of things that can disrupt your way of life. We get together to form units to train in the skills that would help us in event of any of these happening.
Is one of those disasters the fact that Barack Obama is now president of the United States? Because everybody is saying that the militias are growing all of a sudden, as they did under President Clinton with a Democrat in the White House.
Well, every time you have a Democrat in the White House, you have fears of people in general that their Second Amendment rights are going to be curtailed in some way, shape, or form. So what we're experiencing is partially an offshoot of that.
Uh-huh.
Our growth has also been largely due to the report put out by the Southern Poverty Law Center here recently.
Uh-huh. And that report said?
That report basically said that there is a growth in militias, and almost without coming out and pointing directly to it, a racist tone to the militias.
Uh-huh. Well, I suppose there may be in some parts that I can't make that accusation of you because I don't know any of you guys. Now, President Obama says that the Second Amendment, he grants that the Second Amendment gives individuals the right to keep and bear arms. Why would you think that he'd want to take your guns away from you?
Because above and beyond what he says, we also pay attention to the voting records of the politicians, President Obama included. When he was a representative of his state and his other actions in government, he's voted consistently that individual citizens do not have the right to arms for self-defense. And other than the positions he's putting forth in front of the media, we really see no change in his position.
Do you really think it's likely, though, that the U.S. government is suddenly going to come and try and take people's guns away from them? I don't know how they do that in the first place. There are like 300 million guns out there. Who would you hire to collect all those guns?
I don't know, considering most of the people they would hire would be gun owners.
Yeah, you'd think. I don't know how they could even do that. Who do you imagine, besides terrorists and I don't know who else, criminals, who do you imagine you would have to be shooting your guns at when you're thinking about Second Amendment rights and all that?
Well, let's look at New Orleans really quick and what took place down there after Hurricane Katrina. Granted, up here in Michigan, we're not likely to face an earthquake. We're not likely to face a hurricane.
No.
However, we do get hit by tornadoes, and, rioting after a tornado or another disaster is just a fact you face.
Have you had riots up there in Michigan after tornadoes?
Not recently, but there's always been small rashes of looting after any sort of issues like that. And if we're equipped, if we're trained, if we can function as a unit, what we can do more specifically is we can secure neighborhoods, secure areas, freeing up the first responders to go to where they are more needed.
Do you really feel qualified to do that, to march into somebody else's neighborhood with guns and say, we're going to lock this place down because we're the militia?
Well, they're not somebody else's neighborhoods. They are our own neighborhoods.
Uh-huh.
We live and work amongst the neighborhoods that we would be taking responsibility for.
All right. Okay. Do you get why some people are scared of you guys with the guns and all out in the woods?
Yes, we see a lot of that. We see a lot of people with preconceived notions that have seemed to have sprouted from the mid-'90s and everything that was put out at that time. And most of those don't come from people who have actually studied militias.
All right. Michael Lackomar, who is with the team leader with the Michigan Militia. Thank you, Michael, for coming on and explaining what you guys are about. 866-303-2270. So do armed militias, barbecuing and gun-toting in your local woods cause you concern? We'll talk about it after this. It's the Ron Reagan Show.